There are some exciting new Switch 2 stories to cover today, starting with the big headline story, which is the fact that we are getting 2 new N64 games in December for Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack members. But the bigger story here is not actually just the games that were revealed today, one of which I am very excited for, by the way, but rather Nintendo leaked some of their own games in marketing, and you may have forgotten a few of these N64 games that have been in the anticipated lineup of like, yeah, these are going to come because Nintendo blurred out games in the background in one of their marketing trailers. But of course, the internet's the internet, and they started really looking at the colors of all the game cases of what was blurred out in the background. And we know of some exciting fan favorite N64 games that will be added at some point in the future, because this now further confirms that the leak is 100% legit. We also, on the note of NSO, have pre-orders going live for the Virtual Boy console, which will actually be a real thing in February of 2026, if you can believe that. There is an exciting physical edition of classic Final Fantasy games that was announced. We also have the confirmation of how this new Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Nintendo Switch versus Switch 2 is running, and there's one big asterisk with this entire story, which is the fact that it's 30 FPS still, so I want to highlight that with you all. We have some new expectations on what we're going to see when it comes to Animal Crossing news next week, as this was a tease from Nintendo Talk, and I want to circle back to that with you guys and go over exactly what you should be expecting as far as hands-on footage for the update coming next week. And finally, closing us out with a sales update for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And it's not off to as strong of a start as I would like to see personally, but we'll break down whether or not this is a really good indicator, because it is a small sample size. So we'll get on the same page with all of this info right after a quick word from today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by AverMedia and their new Streamline Mini Plus capture card, which might be the perfect solution if you are somebody who's looking to live stream or capture your console gameplay footage from any major platform, Xbox, PS5, Switch, or Switch 2. I did extensive testing with the Switch 2 for this video, and I'm happy to say this is one of the most user-friendly, easy to hop into capture cards I've had the pleasure of experiencing so far. And it has some features you really want to see, like ultra low latency, 4K 60 pass-through, so you can see 4K 60 footage, HDR gameplay, all of that on your end, and you can capture it at 1080p 60, all seamlessly in a really compact box, because this thing's going to be great whether you're on the go and setting up kind of a mobile workstation, or if you have a more permanent setup at home. And I really just cannot stress how you don't need to be super technically savvy to get this thing to work. It's going to work flawlessly with OBS and major streaming applications, and it's also going to work on things like mobile, like such as a tablet. I mean, this is a very versatile product. So if you're ready to start streaming or capturing your gameplay, please check out the AverMedia Streamline Mini Plus using my link in the pinned comment and description down below, and make sure to take advantage of their $20 off promotion they have going right now through December 23rd. That's a savings from $89.99 all the way down to $69.99, and that's available right now, so don't wait. Big thank you to AverMedia for sponsoring today's video. Okay, and we are first kicking it off right over at Nintendo of America's Twitter, where it says 2 classic N64 games are coming soon. Yes, Rayman, The Great Escape, and Tonic Trouble are coming to Nintendo 64 Nintendo Classics app on December 17th for Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack members. This is an exciting announcement for me personally. I actually have a pretty high level of nostalgia for Rayman 2, The Great Escape, and it was one of those games that was in the leak that we're going to be talking about in just a moment, but still, until officially confirmed, you could believe that, you know, would Nintendo bring that to NSO? Maybe. It's one of those games that just kind of seemed like a coin flip. And now Tonic Trouble, on the other hand, looks very cool, very Banjo-Kazooie-esque. It is a 3D platformer as well. I actually don't have any nostalgia for this because I never picked it up, so I'm sure some people are very excited to see this one. But 2 great 3D platformers headed to N64 next week. One nice thing about NSO apps as well is that they do tend to update the day before on Japan time. So while they are advertising these going live on the 17th, you will likely have these playable on the night of the 16th, which is actually different timing, because here recently we have been seeing them do it on Thursdays. And I will also highlight that maybe that's going to be different, because this announcement actually came at 9 a.m. in the morning this morning, whereas normally we do see these NSO announcements late at night following kind of Japan time, where it's like, you know, normally 8 p.m. my time, but this came at 9 a.m. my time this morning. So anyway, who knows if we're going to maybe move things around a day here or there, but December 17th, the official communicated date that these will go live from Nintendo. And what is more interesting than that, and you can see this first pointed out by Wario64, where he says another one, and it is no doubt one of those marketing trailers we saw featured from Nintendo for NSO members, and Rayman 2: The Great Escape was indeed spotted by fans online because of this very heavily blurred icon, if you can believe that fans can actually determine what game is what. Well, there was a number of other games that were leaked as part of that as well, and some of the more exciting ones we haven't seen added yet. Glover, that will be coming from the N64 app as well. The big one, and I cannot believe this is not here in the service at the point in time that we are and how long N64 has been around, Smash Bros. 64 was spotted in this marketing trailer as well. So it's not a question of when, or it's not a question of if, but when for this particular release. And one other one that I'm very much excited for, Donkey Kong 64, also spotted in this leak. So as time goes on, there was even Forsaken 64 spotted in here. That's already been added, obviously. As time goes on, this leak has proved to be 100% accurate. So at some point, Nintendo's marketing team was choosing to, film a promotional trailer for NSO, and they were using a build of the emulator that clearly had games that were unreleased on there. So it does at least give us a nice indicator of what's to come from here. Smash 64 being the biggest, like that with online play, even with the more aged controls at this point, I have such a level of nostalgia for Smash 64 that I will be happy to hop into it and play some online matches. Definitely one that I'm highly anticipating, as well as Donkey Kong 64. Now, Diddy Kong Racing, unfortunately, is not in this leak, and that is one that is a rare game that I think makes all the sense in the world to hit the NSO app at some point for N64. We'll have to wait and see on it, though, because it's not one, unfortunately, that's confirmed as part of these game leaks. Okay, moving on from there, if you are interested in the Virtual Boy console, that you will actually need to play Virtual Boy games for Nintendo Switch Online, it is now available on the My Nintendo store for pre-order. I actually pre-ordered mine. Yes, I spent $100 on Virtual Boy in 2026, if you can believe that, or I guess I pre-spent it for 2026, but Virtual Boy for Switch and Switch 2 are available on the My Nintendo store. And then you, of course, have the prices listed here, but $99 for essentially the, actual Virtual Boy headset that you're going to slot the Switch or Switch 2 in order to actually be able to play those Virtual Boy games. And then you do have that cardboard Labo looking type of contraption that you will have as an option for $24.99 in case you're not ready to go, dive in head first at $100 retail price to play Virtual Boy in the modern day. What is interesting about Virtual Boy to me, and it is an unfortunate thing, while we're going to get like a huge library of playable games all at once, if I'm not mistaken, like we're going to get those 14 titles all available on the service, like Mario Tennis and Galactic Pinball, Wario Land, all that stuff's going to be there right away. But you do have to buy this accessory to actually access these games, and I'm really surprised that Nintendo didn't solve for a way for us to just play them on the TV. Now, maybe it's something that they advertise like that, but then we actually find out when the app hits, you can hop into the games outside of the Virtual Boy. But the way it's being described right now is that the accessory is actually required, which would mean it would probably split the image, one eye and one eye, and so that would obviously look very weird to play on your tablet by itself without the headset. So I'm assuming that that's what's going on there. It may also be like a distorted image because of how the headset's going to work and look at the console. We will have to, wait to go hands-on with this to get final confirmation, but they are saying that that is a required accessory to play Virtual Boy games on NSO. So that's kind of, your other thing. If you want to pick that up and make sure you have it there day one, it is available for pre-order now. Next up, for physical game collectors, Final Fantasy 7 and 8 Remastered Twin Pack for Switch. ESRB physical release complete on-game card is now available. So I figured I'd just give this one a quick shout out. If you are a physical collector, I'll have it linked in the description down below. Shout outs to Nintendo. They have all of the major retailers and when you can go ahead and order this. But if you like, those classic era Final Fantasy games, you want them on a physical cartridge so you can preserve them for now or into the far distant future. That is something that is new, that is available, that I wanted to highlight. Then we have the big announcement that was Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Switch 2 edition yesterday. And admittedly, when I read through the headlines of what was changed and upgraded and all of that, I was under the impression that this probably was a 60 FPS version of the game. Well, not the case, as you can see some new comparison footage, but sure enough, we do actually have a bump in the actual resolution, some textures, things look better and stuff like that. Obviously, this game sadly still runs at 30 FPS with the Switch 2 edition, which is just not something that it should have happened. I mean, we've seen games far more taxing than this be able to run and hit 60 FPS. So I'm really surprised to see that that was just a kind of a miss, I believe, on Bethesda's part, that they did not go in and do the extra work to get it to run at 60 FPS, because obviously there are versions of the games that do. But nonetheless, this is something that I still think is maybe a no-brainer update. If you own the game already, I would just not advise you to go out and actually spend the full cost retail price of the game, because while it is available on the eShop right now, it has no sale attached to it. The game's almost always on sale, so probably don't pick it up at full cost. But nonetheless, you can check out the better looking visuals, but unfortunately 30 FPS, which is just kind of a big drawback for this version of the game and all of the kind of hype conversation around it. Granted, Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim, everybody's played it numerous times at this point, so a lot of people are not down to, hop back in and spend any additional money on it, and understandably so. But hopefully this is something that maybe gets patched and updated with the 60 FPS version later, but it is not there today. Just wanted to give you guys some clarification on it. Next up, an update to the Animal Crossing rumor that we covered earlier this week on the channel, where the source Nintentalk, fellow content creator here on the platform, says, well, now they've basically just said of the full details of what's going to happen. Originally, it was just Animal Crossing fans will be very happy next week. Well, now we have the full breakdown. Nintendo is hosting several digital events this week to select media and content creators to showcase a more in-depth look at the upcoming 3.0 update for Animal Crossing New Horizons on Switch 2 Edition. Each session is said to be between 60 to 90 minutes. Nintendo will also be providing new footage and an opportunity for media to ask questions regarding what was shown during the event. The embargo for this will be 12/16, so you should be seeing videos / news coming out then with plenty of new information on that day. This is a huge step for Nintendo, who is treating this as a big Switch 2 release. Hopefully some good questions are asked when we can learn more about this update. The full update and the Switch 2 version will release on January 15th. So a full month in advance, they are giving basically a handful of different creators media access to look at this ahead of time. I mean, they're treating it almost like it is a big first party brand new title release at that point, which is really interesting to see, because I'm still kind of split on that. Like, I'm here for the Switch 2 edition upgrades. I like additional content and reason to hop back into games. It also makes me a little bit concerned for how far out we might still be from the next true installment in something like the Animal Crossing franchise or many other franchises, that if Nintendo feels like they need to do a pretty substantial update to get the old game to run better and add content to it in the Switch 2 early life cycle, it could indeed signal that we're quite a ways off from the next mainline release. So, definitely kind of go into it with be hyped about it, but also expect that it might be a while before we hear news about the next major Animal Crossing. But I think that this is going to be cool for them to, this I think will be their big January kind of announcement, unless we see something surprise announced at the Game Awards. It is obviously one of their most successful games from a sales perspective on the Switch 1 lifecycle period. So right behind Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, this is a big deal for Animal Crossing fans, and obviously one that is big for Nintendo as well. And I am glad to see them do the Switch 2 upgrade at the smaller $5 price point, and then you get the free content update if you own the game period on Switch 1 or 2, which is great. So lastly, to close this out, some not so great news for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond sales, which is a game that I really want to see perform well. But you can see this headline over from My Nintendo News, where this is just the UK, but it says physical sales of Metroid Prime 4 were down 15% over Metroid Dread. UK journalist Christopher Dring has revealed that physical sales of Metroid Prime 4 were down 15% compared to physical release of Metroid Dread on the Nintendo Switch. It's not a huge amount, and the physical sales these days are obviously struggling against the might of digital. Dring says the difference between the two is relatively marginal, as it's just by a few thousand units. So, super small sample size here. Very hard to tell if this is an indicator of Prime 4, like potentially, trending less to that 3 million copies sold, or more in my mindset is that yes, there is some of that conversation to be had about a lot of people opting to go digital nowadays, and the fact that this is just the UK, just right at launch, because we are still brand new into Prime 4's release, obviously, and we have the rest of the holiday sales season for this to really see if it's going to stick or not, if people are going to hop into Metroid and give it a first try for a lot of fans, because clearly sales numbers at this point, if it struggles to cross like that 3 million mark, this is not like a Zelda or Mario level household name when you talk about Nintendo successful franchises and stuff like that. Hopefully it gets to, close to those levels one day. Will we ever see a Metroid Prime game, or even just Metroid in general, crack 10 million. Like, that seems like a tall ask at this point. I think if we get over 5, it will be a big win as a fan community, but we'll see where it ends up with Prime 4 so far, down over Dread's launch, which is the most successful Metroid game to date. But that said, it is just tracking physical media at a very small sample size out of the UK. So we'll have to wait and see with it. But let me know what your take is on all the different stories we talked about today. Are you excited for any of these new Nintendo Switch Online updates? And the fact that not only the games we have confirmed, but the leaked games that should be coming afterwards. Do you have any plans to buy the Virtual Boy game console so you can actually experience those classic games firsthand by strapping a Switch 2 or Switch 1 to your face to actually enjoy those? Are you going to be picking up the Final Fantasy 7 or 8 combo edition that's now available physically? What do you think about the Skyrim update and it not being 60 FPS? Are you excited for Animal Crossing news next week? And are you currently enjoying Metroid Prime 4 if you had the opportunity to pick it up? So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.